All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Friends and Pals podcast. Uh, I am Tristan, and I am joined here with my co-podcaster Alex. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alex.
Very lively this one tonight. It is 1:40 in the morning, so you got to give us a little bit of leeway. So this podcast is just kind of going to be us bullshitting about kind of just whatever we want to talk about. Whether it's about like books, games, general topics, anything that really kind of catches their eye for the week. So we'll classify ourselves as variety, I guess, for now. Um, but speaking of which, today our first episode is actually going to be discussing what the hell happened to movies. You know. So we're gonna dive deep into that. I think Alex is going to start us off today with our diving off point. So we'll go to him.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about how there haven't been any good like zombie movies anymore. Any good like I feel like it's really rare to see just like a good movie like in general anymore. Like I feel like everything's gotten to a point where it's just like it's hard to separate like I don't know. Maybe part of it is like just like the MCU and everything, like getting like super popular and everything like that. But like, I feel like it's just become a whole bunch of like action, shooting, explosions, shit like that. And like, I don't ever see anything that's like just out there to like be good, I guess. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's even the right way to explain what I'm thinking, but like out of all the movies I saw like last year, for example, like there was one that I went and saw called Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that one like I feel like is the only good movie I can remember from last year off the top of my head at least.
Well, actually, yeah, I think the thing is like we can dive deeper into the broader movie topic in general, but just to touch on your point about zombie movies, I think it just has to do with unfortunately like I think the fad of zombie movies is kind of over right now.
Yeah,
Like it was kind of popular, and maybe we were just also kind of like into older movies and stuff, so maybe we like had our niche. But like the fad's over. Like the sad reality of the way movies work now, it's what they think is gonna make the most money.
hmm,
And so yes, as you were saying with the MCU, we get even though something started out good, we get an oversaturation of one certain thing, and they kind of forget to include some other elements that used to work.
yeah, I definitely feel like it kind of is just like what's the fad is like what movies tend to follow. Like what's like popular that like people are gonna want to go see, and it feels like that's been like the case with like horror movies just in general for a while. Because starting with like The Conjuring, like those really popped off in the last like 10 years. Like I mean, horror movies have always been around,
Yeah.
obviously, but like there's been like slashers and stuff like that. And then like in the last 10 years, it's been a really big focus on the supernatural, on like ghosts and stuff. And like, so a lot
Mm-hmm.
of other things have really kind of fallen off. But I don't know, like I miss the old like monster movies, like zombie movies. Like, I don't know, like I feel like, I mean, there was Zombieland Double Tap like not too long ago, but like, other than that, like I can't think of a good zombie movie that's been out since like maybe World War Z like 10 years ago. Like zombie movies just aren't made anymore. And I feel like the same could be true for like so many of like the classic monster movies like fucking like Dracula and like they've had like some kind of like resurgence with it because they made that Invisible Man one not too long ago. I never saw it, but they
Yeah.
made that one and they tried to do like Dracula Untold or something like 10 years ago, but like I don't know. Is it just a matter of like they're not good, so they just don't get picked up? Because like with Marvel movies,
I
like,
see. I think.
yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. If you're still trying to
No,
continue your
no, go
point, go
ahead.
for it. Okay. So what I think is going back to like the monetary point of it. The best movies that you're gonna fucking watch is from like a director that doesn't give a shit about studio input. They don't care about like making the best dollar. It's about them just trying to make what they want to make,
Hmm.
like those passion projects, you know. And I feel like those, as of late, have been really discouraged. So you see a lot less of like the passion projects, like you know someone wants to make a like for example like how you were saying you want a good monster movie, like there used to be like people that were like, yeah, I want to make a good monster movie. I don't want it to be fucking like triple A. I don't want it to be big budget. I don't want it to be whatever, but I just want to make a good monster movie. I feel like a couple of years ago, like 10 plus years ago, that was like more okay,
Hmm.
but I feel like it's almost discouraged now, when it comes to like trying to make film.
Hmm.
So like I feel like when you almost when like, and I could be totally wrong and like out of like whatever on this because I don't work in the industry or anything like that. But I feel like you go to the studio, like a big studio, and like they like give you like a menu of what you like, you can choose from this menu to make your movie.
Yeah, I feel like,
And just passion project might be not on there
hmm,
anymore.
and I agree. Like, I feel like that's how, like, sticking with MCU movies, I feel like that's how some of the most popular ones got, like, made. Like, Thor Ragnarok, it feels like that was Taika Waititi's, like, child. Like, he made that the way
Yeah.
he wanted to. Same with, like, Black Panther. Like, it feels like those ones, like, ended up, like a passion project. But, like, now,
And then even just Love and Thunder afterward,
hmm,
Taika Waititi,
hmm,
but he complained, as far as I know, about getting heavy studio input on the movie,
hmm.
and that one didn't do as great.
Because, like,
But go
I
ahead.
feel like Marvel is kind of falling into the same trap that DC did, and that is they're trying to look forward a little too hard. They're bringing in like all of this shit about like Kang and everything. They're really moving forward. They're trying to move forward, which like you have to do as like a movie franchise. You always have to move forward. But it feels like once you get too focused on that what's next, you start to lose the what's here right now.
Well, and the best part of, at least in my opinion, of Marvel in the beginning was the slow burn.
Hmm.
I mean, Thanos was secretly set up for like 10 fucking years. Like, it wasn't just one of the things where it's like, all right, here's Thanos. Oh, and now they're fighting.
Yeah.
Like, with Kang, it feels like Thanos is over, and then all of a sudden he's the fucking, like, here he is.
Yeah.
He's the threat
Like he
now.
got introduced so early compared to like Thanos. Like phase one of the Marvel
Exactly.
universe, I feel like they might have had one scene with Thanos, and now they've had like an entire movie based
It was
around
mostly
him.
post credits.
Yeah.
I don't even think there was an actual scene. I think he had a couple scenes, and I think it was all post credits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you didn't stay into the theater to watch the post credit scenes, you might not even know Thanos was going to be showing up on the biggest screen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Versus Kang, they want everybody to fucking know.
And it feels weird because it's like I don't know, like I'm so used to like the old like MCU where it's like everything's kept in shadow and hiding. So it's like I almost don't trust it. Because like what if like because they've got the Avengers movie named the Kang Dynasty, I'm pretty sure. So like
Yeah, I think that's confirmed.
yeah, so like you have already like had a full on movie around fighting this guy. And like, I get that the spectacle is going to be grander because there's fucking 7,000 of them. But at the same time, like, you've already showed your cards like
Yeah.
this early. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's different because,
The best part of storytelling, I think, is like the slow burn, like, right, you it's one of those things. I think the best type of like story movie or whatever is one of those things where like they sprinkle in pieces of plot throughout like a slow experience, and then at the end it's a big reveal, but then when you rewatch the movie everything's painfully obvious then.
Yeah.
But like I think the best thing is like at the end of the movie when you're like, oh wait, this that because of this happened. Like oh like those moments of like piecing things together I think feels really good,
Hmm.
and it almost feels just lazy to just have it like thrown into your lap.
Yeah. Because like at this point, like we know what's happening. Like the Kang from this dimension is dead, so the other ones are gonna come now. So like we know the story. Like it feels like with the Infinity Stones you could piece it together. Like you were saying. Like, oh shit, this was actually the time stone the whole time. Oh shit, this was actually the soul stone the entire time. Like you could piece shit together.
Yeah.
But instead, it feels like this time around it's not that. And they're just like, oh shit, here's Kang and here's all of the Kangs and you know, here's the entire story of Kang. Like,
And that's the plot is that the difficulty of taking him down is going to be that there's a million of them.
yeah.
There you go.
And so it feels
And the Avengers might lose.
yeah,
Whatever, like there's no conflict there. It's just like okay, we know what's gonna happen. They're gonna have some big battle. It's gonna take some fucking whatever, and then like whatever. Yeah, the fun part is having those context clues and shit add up so that when it does happen, it's a big reveal.
exactly. Like it I don't know, like it also just I saw like somebody talking about it not too long ago where they said it's nice to see that Marvel movies can just be decent again. Like it, because like I can't remember what movie they were referring to in particular, but one of the more recent ones, some like movie critic came out and was just like, it's nice to see that Marvel movies don't have to be absolutely fucking amazing. It's nice that they can just be decent, which like I get because like at some point like you're gonna run out of steam and it's nicer to do it slowly than it is to just all of a sudden fucking drop off Eternals. But it like
Call out.
it like I don't know, it feels like they finished the first three phases with like a coherent story, and this time it feels like it's just getting pushed in. Like it feels like we're just like
Just disconnected.
mm-hmm,
Well, and hey, there's no argument on my part about let Marvel movies be decent. I prefer it. I prefer a Marvel movie that's not like end game spectacle all the
mm-hmm,
time. Like Avengers, like the first Avengers movie. Like that was pretty good, but it's not like end game spectacle, right? Or like Captain America, Iron Man,
mm-hmm,
like they're not end game spectacles, right? Like there's no problem with Marvel movies just being like all right.
mm-hmm.
It's again the issue of just make the story interesting.
Yeah,
Make it add up to something. It doesn't have to be some fucking like grand reveal where like the whole universe is changing at the end of this, but like I don't know, just follow the story writing like basics. Like just make it make it slow burn, make it fucking sprinkle context clues
mm-hmm,
in, have the reveal. Like it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be
mm-hmm.
huge. It's just like it has to be something.
It just like it feels like to a point like why do we care? I guess like because like Thanos had this entire plan to like wipe out the universe, and like they kind of talked about like Kang wanting to destroy the multiverse and like fix like plot like timelines or whatever. But like why? Like why do we care? And maybe
At
those
all.
are the plot threads that we're going to be learning about, but it just feels like I don't know. It just feels off, I guess. And just in general, like it just kind of like some things just kind of feel off. Like I feel like the best movies nowadays are the passion projects where like somebody's like, I want to make this a thing. I'm gonna go ahead and make it a thing. You know, like I don't know. Like it feels like the
Yeah.
best movies are something where somebody wants to tell like their side of things or like their like this is their message. So like I don't know. I guess I'm just struggling to understand like where things are going because like you don't see that many passion projects anymore like we were talking about earlier. Like it's getting fewer and fewer.
Filmmaking is just, unfortunately, it's like a changing industry. It used to be, I think, fueled by like passion projects and like people caring about it, and now it's more so about, hey, what money are you gonna make me?
Yeah.
You come and pitch the movie. It's like, okay, cool, that sounds good and all, but where's the money?
Yeah, like it's just like everything's about the box office now. And like I
Yeah.
thought it kind of hit ahead with the Transformers movies because like those fell off for me. Like after the first three, I want to say, like the fourth and the fifth one just absolutely fell off, and it feels like it hit ahead at some point because they went ahead and they made Bumblebee, and that ended up doing really well. But like, there's a
Bumblebee was all right.
it was a difference between like spectacle, like they started making it bigger until it just couldn't carry the weight anymore, and it's not a passion project
Until it was
anymore.
so insane. Yeah, it just became something that was so insane that even in a universe that wasn't something that was based in reality, it still became something that was so wacky and out there that it was like, what the fuck is even happening right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like it just I don't know. Like it feels like I've seen so many movies that are about like explosions and like fucking like I don't know. Like Transformers is a good example. Like it just ended up getting to the point where it's like explosions and warfare and guns and everything flying everywhere.
Well, that's why Michael Bay is the memes of Michael Bay
Yeah.
is because of those later
But
movies.
he's not
Like,
like the only one, I feel like.
no, he's not the only one, but people love to have that go-to example. They don't like to take the extra minute to actually look for the thought. They just like, no, who does it? Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Like, they just love to have that
And
go-to.
that's true. I also feel like I don't know. Like you remember that fad of like disaster movies in like the early 2010s where like everybody was coming up with a disaster movie. There was literally like fucking 2012. There was San Andreas. There
Oh
was
yeah,
like that massive wave of
they scared the fucking shit out of
yeah,
me.
there was a massive wave of disaster movies. And then like Marvel movies took over and like maybe it's a problem of like something else needs to take charge because like I don't know, like horror movies are flying kind of under the radar. They've always stayed pretty popular, but like we had the wave of like disaster movies. We had the wave of like horror movies. We had the wave of Marvel movies. I'm kind of like what's next, I guess.
I think before we can get to that point, I think as much as I like, I'm not trying to make this like a hate on Marvel podcast episode or anything like that, but I think unfortunately what needs to happen is superhero movies specifically, not just Marvel. They need to stop making so much damn money,
Hmm.
and another niche needs to be able to come in. Either, and this probably won't happen. Either the studios need to quit worrying so fucking much about the dollar at the end of the day. Like you can break even and make some money off of it, sure, but
Hmm.
they need to quit worrying about the bottom dollar, which probably won't happen. Or fucking Marvel movies, just people need to stop. Like the superhero movies need to stop. Like even though people are complaining about them, they're still making fucking millions.
Hmm.
Like they say box office flop, but it's still like millions of dollars of fucking profit.
Hmm.
People diss on it, but it's just an industry. So I think there needs to be a change to make room for that new wave that you were talking about. I think something needs to change to allow the new niche to come in.
Yeah, I would agree. It's hard for new movies to make money with like movies like Marvel dominating the box office. Like I mean, it's basically like if you open your movie the same weekend as a Marvel movie opening weekend, you have already lost the game. Like
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
it's at this point, it's a death wish for your movie to open up on the same weekend as a Marvel movie. Like I've seen movies like switch release dates just because there's a Marvel movie opening the same weekend. Like
You almost have to. They almost have to.
Because like, there's no way you are making anywhere near that Marvel movie. Everybody's going to see the Marvel movie, and your movie will get forgotten in the crosshairs. But like, it just, I don't know. It feels like the opinion is shifting on Marvel movies a little bit too, because like, I definitely feel like a lot more people are just like, yeah, it's I feel like a lot more people are stepping away from it. And maybe it's like because the first wave is over and like Thanos is done, they're moving on to something new, and everybody's like, if there's a time to drop it, it's now. But like, I feel like I don't hear about them very much anymore. But they're still making millions at the box office, so obviously people are still going to see them. But like, they,
It's just less of a talking point
yeah,
now.
it's less of a talking point. It's less, maybe it ties back to it's just less interesting with Kang than it was with Thanos. Like, it's less like people can't really get together and be like, "Oh, do you think this is the time stone? The time stone isn't around anymore." "Oh, do you think this is Kang?" That's definitely Kang.
Yeah, that was some of our favorite parts too. I think about like Marvel movies just for us and shit like that was like going to watch it and then coming like back to like your place and like, oh my god. So what do you think this part meant?
Mm-hmm.
This part like again, it goes back to I think it kind of all ties together like to the piecing things together. But I think like yeah, our favorite part was not just watching the movie, but then like going home and being like, "Oh my God, what does this mean? You think this means? You think this is an Easter egg, or is that just a piece of plastic on the ground?" Like,
Exactly. Like, it's like all the Easter eggs and shit, and instead, like, now we're just getting like Kang full on, and like at the same time, like, they have stuff that like they are like they've got stuff from other show like movies and like the TV shows and everything that they haven't really touched on in a while. Like Vision, that new Vision just flew off.
it's been a
Yeah.
minute, yeah. What happened to him? That was one of the more interesting parts of that show to me
Mm-hmm.
was the new Vision,
Yeah.
and they just never fucking touched it
Yeah.
again.
And like, I don't know. I'm like trying to like wrap my head around it because like it.
They stored him in the back pocket, friend. They WandaVision was making money. They were doing all this stuff, and then they're storing that storyline in the back pocket for when the dry spell, and they're gonna touch upon it. That's what I feel like. Is again, it's a monetary thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not worrying about telling the story. That's a fucking that's an ace up their sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're gonna save that until they need to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could be wrong on
I
that,
would
but
agree. It just feels like there's so much moving. Like, and I think that's why I've kind of slowed down on Marvel movies in general lately, is just because like there's Kang who's like way out in the fucking open, but there's also just so many fucking moving parts. Like, there's a TV show, there's a movie, there's a fucking TV special you have to watch. There is so much going
yeah.
on with it right now. It feels like another Star Wars situation because Star Wars had a whole bunch of shit just pumping out right when Disney got a hold of it. And it feels like there
I
is.
think that comes back to the money. That comes back to the money thing,
Mm-hmm.
though. If they have Disney Plus now, so now they're just shitting things out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing that on purpose. Where instead of just having the shows kind of be their own self-contained stories like they should be, they're putting movie information into this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to watch if you want to go to the theater and watch a movie like a normal person, to understand what you're seeing, you have to know all this other shit.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing that so you have Disney Plus. But by doing that, they're like alienating people that don't want to spend 7 hours of their life every fucking day catching up on the latest Disney project.
Exactly. And yeah, it feels like a money grab at the end of the day. Like, I don't know, like I've always tried to give Marvel like the benefit of the doubt because it feels like at the end of the day they were more focused on like their fan base than anything else. But like with all of the TV shows and the movies and everything coming out, like it feels like it's shifted towards more of a money grab because like while the shows can be really good and I've seen them be really good, I've loved WandaVision, they still, it just feels like they want you to jump through all these hoops. Like, you got to watch the show, you got to catch up on the latest fucking, I don't know, I don't even know what they have now. They've got like the show, they've got like the TV specials that they do occasionally. They've got the
My
movies.
ass has had no free. My ass has had so much free time lately. So I will just let you know you are very behind. I have been somehow keeping mostly up, but there's so much shit. Like if you don't have the free time that I have right now, it like I feel like you just can't even do it.
Yeah, like it feels really, I don't know, it feels hard to do. It feels hard to keep up with because like everything's moving so fast and like that's nothing compared to what DC tried to do because DC just fucking launched it. But like
They blew their load too quickly for
they
sure. Yeah.
absolutely just launched into the story they wanted to tell. They did Superman, they did Man of Steel, and then next movie they were like, "All right, and we're going in." Like,
They fucked you on the first date without taking you to dinner or any foreplay.
yeah, like they straight up just like dropped everything they had at the hat. Like, and with Marvel, it just kind of feels like they drip fed the first part, and now they're doing the same thing DC did, where they're just like, "Here's all the Kangs. There you go." Or like
Yeah.
with the TV shows, it feels like they're almost like you're watching a TV show for probably one bit of information that will tie into the rest of it. And so it's just like 7 hours just to understand the next 2.5 hour movie that's going to come out in the theaters. And then there's another 7 hours coming out next week. And then there's another 7 hours coming out in the spring. And then next week, there's the fourth movie coming out. It feels like there's always something coming out from Marvel. And I feel like that's the same trap that Star Wars fell in. Because, like, now I'm just like there is literally never downtime for anything Marvel.
Are we and I hate to drop this on you. Are we just getting old? Would we feel the same way that we do now if we were the same age in the current situation?
I feel like I don't know. I,
I don't know. Maybe I'm off on that one. I, I feel like there's always that situation where you get older and you whatever.
and you
I
like
just I
have
wonder
less
if
time
like
for
we
shit.
were 14 years. Yeah, and so I feel like if we what if we were like 13-year old us with like obviously we had school, but beside that we had all day every day. What if we had all that free time? Would we still feel the same way? Like you know how we would sit and watch Netflix all the I don't know. Maybe we would. Maybe it's not. I don't think it. Our problem is so much how much there is, even though that is a problem. I think like the main issue is just like what we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, man, you kind of fucked me up with the "Are we getting old" line.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drop it on you, man.
I just
It hit me. It hit me. I was sitting there and I was like, "Fuck."
yeah, I would hope we're not just getting old. Like I would hope that there are kids like sitting like, like there's too much Marvel shit coming out. But then again, this is like the era of the binge watchers, so maybe not.
COVID, yeah, COVID created a situation where binge watching had like been a culture for a while, but COVID situation created like where it became like a culture. Like you're almost expected to binge watch something at this point.
Yeah, like especially with all the streaming platforms and everything. Like everybody drops everything all at once. Like you get a season to watch versus you get one episode a week. And like HBO has kind of switched that up with The Last of Us and everything. And like everybody's kind of switched that up on people, but like and it feels like it's going back towards that in a way, but like the idea of like we'll just drop a whole season or like there's no movie coming out, let's start dropping this season of Moon Knight and then people can watch all 7 episodes or just watch it week by week. Like I don't know. It maybe we are getting old, and I just don't really want to sit down and watch 7 hours. But I don't know, because like I have a hard time telling where things are gonna go. I guess it it's really hard to predict how things are gonna end up with like Marvel, with the movie industry. Like I feel like COVID too has made it so much less likely for people to go to the movies.
Change the game for sure.
But now it just feels like everybody's trying to drop everything on streaming platforms instead. But I don't know. It feels like that bounced back a lot better than I thought it would too. Because like there's been a ton of movies recently that are just like only in theaters and they're still making a shit ton of money. So maybe I'm just talking on my ass, but
I don't think it's not like completely dead, but like I think compared, let's compare pre-COVID numbers. I think it's definitely a diminished industry. It
mm-hmm.
might be bouncing back a little bit, but yeah, I think it became less. I think in the like again in the eyes of money making in the studio, it became less about um like a theater ready movie, and it became more about let's throw this shit on a streaming
Mm-hmm.
platform.
We'll make the money off the streaming. And
Yeah,
I think that's what's wrong with the movie industry as a whole.
and it's really sad too because like at least as far as I know, like people working like I'll go. We keep using Disney and like MCU as our punching
Mm-hmm.
bag, but I'm gonna go back to it with like I'll say Mandalorian specifically. So Dave Filoni is like one that works on that show, and he was with George Lucas from like the beginning. So he's in it for the passion.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard that he gets a lot of pushback on stupid shit to change the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like like again, it's not even like there's not people out there that are wanting to be passionate. You have to sign a 500-page contract to work with a studio that's pretty much like, yeah, you can make your movie, but we can add anything and change anything at any time we want,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no say about it. End of the story.
Yeah. Big corporations. At the end of the day,
Damn
it's
them
yeah,
all.
it's a big corporation wanting to make big money. And that's what sucks about the movie industry. It's like I feel like 90% of the
Well,
movies that like people want to see are like the smaller like studios, like A24 films. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they've been gaining traction a lot in the last like 10 years, and I feel like their movies like are the ones that everybody loves.
what have they put out?
They put out a couple of their well-known movies are like Midsummer and Hereditary. Um, they tend to do some like a lot of horror, but they've also done one called like Uncut Gems, and that one was really good.
Oh, I've seen that. That was
Yeah,
them.
that was A24. That's one of their studio produced. Also, Ex Machina was one of their first
That movie
movies.
was good as fuck. I don't know if I've seen that, but Uncut Gems for sure.
Yeah,
I watched that. That was really good.
and so there's like some pushback
Go
with like
figure, right? One of
smaller.
the smaller studios that you were talking
Yeah,
about that were good, and a movie that I actually
yeah.
liked.
So like smaller studios, I shouldn't even call A24 smaller at this point. I don't think, but like some like lesser known studios that aren't fucking Disney are coming up, and like that's like helping, but it just feels like everything is controlled by one company sometimes.
Yeah, that was my next little segue here. We got probably a couple more minutes before we wrap up, but looking forward, maybe a little bit more of a positive spin at the end of this. Do you think that we will get a change? And if you do you think it'll be soon, or do you think it's gonna take a while?
I think we're going to start to see a change within the next 10 years, if I had to guess. Like, I feel like just in general, a lot of like our generation, to make us not sound old for once, a lot of our generation is like experiencing like we push back. I feel like against like big corporations and shit like that. Like that's kind of just our shtick
Yeah,
is we push back like monopolies, like fucking like I don't know. Like I feel like our generation is so like wrapped up in wanting to keep things like I don't even know the word for it. Keep things from being monopolized, I guess. So like our generation is so wrapped up in like Disney, like they're buying everything up, stop them, stuff like that. Like I feel like our generation is so wrapped up in that that Disney won't end up owning everything under the sun. And also like I feel like nowadays a lot of people look for the more indie films to watch because like a lot of like that pushback we were talking about earlier where Marvel movies don't get talked about as much anymore. A lot of the people who are seeing Marvel movies are like, let's go see a good indie film. So like,
Yeah, no, and I actually I completely agree on that. I think that I think the things come in like trends and like gaps, and I think Marvel has kind of had its 10 years,
mhm.
and maybe they'll take another 10. But I think like they peaked, um, and I do feel like that's coming for sure. They've owned the industry for so long, and I think it's only natural. I don't think they have such monopoly that they're gonna completely
Mhm.
dominate. They're gonna fall out of fashion slowly, and then like good old fashioned like independent makers like Jordan Peele movies. He's an independent
Yeah.
maker, and I don't know if you've seen any of him, but he makes everything that he has made has been like fucking
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I love Jordan Peele
So
movies.
I think like independent creators, yeah, I think independent creators like him are going to start like slowly taking it back over.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, like you said, 10 years is probably a good timeline. I think within the next like 10 years, we're probably going to have a whole different definition of what going to see a movie is.
I would agree. So
All right.
thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed our first topic, our first
Yeah,
podcast.
thank you so much. If you took the time out of your day to come and listen to two random people bullshit about a random topic. But yeah, I think we'll close it out
All
there.
right.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. We will see you
Soon.
sometime here.